In a move that has sent shockwaves reverberating through the hallowed halls of the monarchy and upended centuries of rigidly upheld protocol, King Charles III has made the audacious decision to officially elevate his niece, Zara Tindal, to the lofty ranks of the aristocracy. In a dazzling ceremonial spectacle reminiscent of the grandest royal pageants of yesteryear, the former Zara Phillips was formally invested with the title of princess and all the rights, privileges and responsibilities the weighty designation entails. The unprecedented move, which has left even the most seasoned royal watchers and historians reeling in a state of disbelieving stupor, unfolded in a blaze of archaic pomp and circumstance within the storied confines of St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. There, beneath the vaulted Gothic arches and bathed in the kaleidoscopic grandeur of stained glass, Zara knelt before her uncle, the newly minted king, and submitted to the age-old rites of aristocratic ennoblement. We were witnessing something that should have been nothing more than a dusty anachronism relegated to the annals of a bygone era, and yet there it played out before our very eyes, a real-life elevation to princesshood in the 21st century, recounted longtime royal correspondent and author Ingrid Seward, her voice still tinged with hints of stunned disbelief. The sheer audacity of it all was simply staggering, a reminder that even in our modern age, the monarchy still retains the power to utterly upend our expectations and comprehensions of the status quo. As a hushed trepidation settled over the assembled masses within the chapel's hallowed nave, King Charles retrieved the ceremonial sword that has borne witness to countless investiture rites over the centuries, its very blade steeped in the mystique and genealogical weight of the Windsor lineage. With studied precision, the monarch tapped each of Zara's shoulders with the flat of the ancestral steel, uttering the words that would elevate a commoner to rarefied nobility. "Zara Tindal, by the grace of God and this bestowed princely rank, we admit thee into the most exalted order of the aristocracy," Charles intoned, his rich baritone resonating through the sacred space with a solemnity that seemed to cascade through the eons. "To have and to hold, and to bear all the rights, customs and privileges appertaining thereunto. Rise, your royal highness, Princess Zara." In that spellbinding instant, the rarity of hereditary titled privilege was expanded by one, subsuming the erstwhile Olympic equestrian and down-to-earth daughter of princess and into the rarefied stratospheres occupied by the loftiest of Britain's noble houses. As Zara rose, arrayed in ceremonial finery bedecked with ropes of pearls and glittering insignia, a hush more profound than even the chapel's hallowed walls had borne witness to in centuries past descended over the assuredly flabbergasted gathering. I've witnessed more coronations, investitures and dynastic upheavals than I care to recollect over my decades of covering the royals, but nothing could have prepared me for that transcendent moment, the sight of a grandfather elevating his own grandchild to the aristocratic ranks, Seward admitted, her words seeming to hover suspended in the lingering disbelief of that historic occasion. In a single, blindsiding stroke, Charles had thrown the established norms and hierarchies we'd all taken for granted into utter disarray. As the ceremonial dust gradually settled and the news of Zara's newfound regal standing seeped into the world beyond Windsor's cloistered confines, a maelstrom of fevered speculation, debate and no shortage of pointed criticism has engulfed the monarchy and the nation it represents on the global stage. For some, Charles's decisiveness in bestowing his niece with the trappings of princesshood represents a bold step forward, a rebuke of antiquated conventions and a potent signal of his determination to initiate meaningful reform within the monarchy's moldering edifice. This was an emphatic declaration from the king, one that says he's not afraid to wield the full extent of his powers and prerogatives to reshape the institution to better reflect the rapidly evolving world around it, posited royal author Robert Hardman. By breaking rank and elevating Zara, who by traditional standards of primogeniture would have remained a commoner, he sent an unmistakable message that the days of the monarchy being shackled by antiquated norms of bloodline supremacy are well and truly over. Yet for others, the ascension of Zara Tindal strikes a much more discordant tone, one that seems to clash against the very spirit of modernization and meritocracy that some hoped the new monarch would champion. In the eyes of these critics, Charles's championing of his niece represents an unseemly and potentially corrosive indulgence in hereditary privilege, an overt favoring of a relation over more eminently qualified subjects. Rather than a bold step forward, this strikes me as a regressive lurch backward into the murky waters of nepotism and noblesse oblige, remarked Pauline Maclaren, a professor of royal studies at Goldsmiths, University of London. King Charles had an opportunity here to move the monarchy into the 21st century by identifying and elevating a true meritocratic exemplar to serve as an inspirational face for a new generation. Instead, he squandered that chance by putting his own kith and kin first, sending a message that familial ties still take precedence over substance and merit within the royal halls of power. The stinging critique has found vociferous support from a number of unlikely corners, including from ardent royalists and cavaliers of the aristocratic old guard, many of whom have recoiled in unambiguous horror at what they perceive as a grievous debasement of the hallowed traditions and exclusivity that grant the monarchy its cultural cache and semi-sacrosanct mystique. It's an abomination, pure and simple, harumphed Lord Edmund Fortescue Smythe, a scion of one of England's most venerable noble houses and a longtime courtier to the royal family. Elevating one's own grandchild to the peerage in this brazen manner isn't just an affront to propriety, it utterly devalues and degrades the meaning and prestige behind aristocratic titles that were once the exclusive province of only the most illustrious and deserving personages. For the newly minted Princess Zara herself, however, the swirling maelstrom of adulation and condemnation appears to have done little to shake her characteristic unflappability and down-to-earth demeanor. In her first public remarks since the epical investiture ceremony, the former world-class equestrian projected a studied air of humility, seemingly unbowed by both the honor bestowed upon her and the firestorm of controversy it has ignited. I'll admit, when I was first approached about this I thought it was some sort of prank or jest, as it's hardly the sort of thing one expects in the 21st century. Zara addressed the assembled press corps, her perpetual self-assuredness and easy poise in stark contrast to the gravity of her new circumstance. But my uncle insisted it was his desire and prerogative, and I'm not one to turn down such a unique opportunity, even if I can't quite wrap my head around being referred to as Your Royal Highness quite yet. The princess went on to dismiss any suggestions that her ascension represented a regressive capitulation to nepotism or unearned privilege, asserting that her new rank carried with it profound responsibilities and philanthropic endeavors that she intended to wholeheartedly embrace. Those who think I've simply been handed some sort of unearned bauble clearly don't understand the gravity of what the king has entrusted me with, she stated, her stance growing slightly more defiant. This isn't just some quaint title or trivial honorific, it's a clarion call to dedicate myself wholly to the service of the people of this nation and the countless worthy causes and charitable initiatives championed by the crown. An obligation that I intend to uphold with every fiber of my being. As Zara pledged herself to this new regal cause and the world at large strove to acclimate itself to the jarring upheaval she represents, one immutable truth has emerged: the audacious stroke executed by King Charles III has irrevocably rewritten the playbook governing the royal families.